I'm going to start off with my sort of rantiest Pete's. I don't have many. I'm quite a happy poet, which is a surprise because I'm quite a miserable person. But this is about those sort of tall buildings which keep getting higher and higher, sort of Canary Wharf-esque, and I really don't like them. This is called Shards. If this city's skyline was a lifeline, I'd be worried about its heart rate. Mate, I'd say, is your blood pressure okay? I'd take it grapes and flowers and I'd sit with it for hours saying, don't rush it, don't push it. You've got a lot to lose and there's nothing to prove. But this city doesn't want help. It's medicating itself. It's dedicating its wealth to health, to the pursuit of its wealth. And as the buildings get taller, do the people get smaller, dwarfed by these glass cages built for different glass stages of our lives? They're shiny and transparent. And it soon becomes apparent that they're that strange shade of temporary, which they rebrand as contemporary, and we're conned temporarily. Let's zoom in on our hero. He's multiplying zero with extreme vigor, and he's just the same as every other glass figure. He can see through the glass feelings that suppress his glass feelings, and he can't touch the sky, and no one told him why. He's stuck in his glass cage, earning his brass wage, nurturing a crash rage that will shatter this brash age. He tried to seek answers, but he just found blame, and he tried to help, but it all became a game. So for now, he's left pacing. He's on the spot racing, running light years away from his light years, forgetting why. But look at that skyline. Drink in that porn for your eye line. Haven't we done well? Well, it's hard to tell when you don't know the criteria. Is small or inferior? I thought Dr. Zeus put an end to that crap. People used to look up at St. Paul's and say, wow, but we've got these taller glass cages now. And those who are lucky enough, those who are plucky enough can raise themselves so high they won't hear the cries from those spots on the ground. Thank you. It's going to go a bit more cutesy now, I'm afraid, and I wrote this for some quite small children, and I would just like to see how it works on less positive people. They were learning about the value of respecting difference, and it comes with a bit of a sugar warning. So for any emotional diabetics, get your metaphorical EpiPen out. Sorry about that. There once was a little horse who was a little strange. She had this little horn growing out of her mane. And because the other horses only saw her difference, she grew up not knowing her magnificence. She tried to join in on normal horse banter. She tried to perfect a normal horse canter. But no amount of this conformity could distract from her deformity. It took the whole herd to trample her down, but just one horse to turn it around, who instead of saying, you freak, told her she was unique, said she had a unique horn. He called her a unicorn. Or this spin, it made her head spin. It made her stop and look at him, and he was all normal, he was all plain. There was no horn growing out of his mane. Though no one called him different, he wasn't quite the same. And this was all she needed to forget being stampeded. Once she forgot what she was not, she found a whole new spring to her trot. And what was simply phrasing, it began to feel amazing. Now when anyone said, what's that thing on your head? That's my unique horn, the unicorn said. And the plain horse was just glad that she could see what he'd noticed instantly. He said, we horses must choose our courses carefully. And the other horses, they were changing courses too, as they realized just what this unicorn could do. And soon, she was so famous, they queued up to be her. With horns taped to their heads, they wanted to be her. Me, said the unicorn, I'm not really any different. It's my friend who believed in me. He's truly magnificent. Cheers. This next one is sort of about my parents, who were sort of two 80s hippies, wore mind-bogglingly colourful clothes, which as a child I found really embarrassing. But then when I sort of grew up, I sort of realised that it's actually quite a cool way of sticking it to the man. And it's also a bit about technology and how far we've come in such a short time. And I wrote that bit when I was on a train, and I saw a man in his 60s, and he was using an iPad mini, and an iPhone simultaneously. And sort of I stared at him in horror for a few minutes and then took out my iPhone and wrote a poem about it. So, such is life. This is called Patchwork Poem. His clothes were bright, like a rainbow had spilt on them. My mum made a quilt on them, and I sewed a little guilt in them because they embarrassed me. They colourfully surpassed me, they unfashionably harassed me. At 10, I simply couldn't see any beauty in that rebellion that was wearing 50 shades of vermilion. But now, I see my jeans in those stripy jeans, the ones that have been cut at the seams and made into patchwork. I see how the mismatch works because somehow he wowed in them. He made more than a shroud of them, and I wish that I'd been proud of them. But then again, I was 10. We buried him in tie-dye and watched time fly by, and on that quilt I'd lie and grow fonder of those patterns, and I guess that's just what happens, because now the mismatched work of that stitched patchwork, it makes me so glad, because a different quilt made from different clothes, it would have meant a different dad. But since then, life made this time machine, and it brought me to now, where there is this different gleam. It's sort of like then, but a bit more touchscreen. And if my dad came back from the dead, hypothetically, I wonder pathetically, theoretically, he might not even fit in. Phones were then an accessory, not a necessity, and he wouldn't know the hype. He'd never heard of Skype, or HD, or on demand. Just over a decade has updated the land he knew. Who knew we could move so fast? And I feel like this sort of middleman, because I can almost see where it all began, but God, I'll be left behind, because I genuinely thought Spotify was a face cream. I thought windows were what we used to daydream when clouds were just gases in the sky and not prefixed by I. And it's fine to move fast. But are we learning from the past that brought us here? The transportation that created this nation whose biggest fear is an empty hand, nothing to hold or rely on, no one to update or subtly spy on, with no one to tell, except the man in the street, or her in the next seat, with the phone that's smarter than its owner. Maybe one day it'll own her and then loan her back to herself. But these people don't know you. They don't know your workplace, or that you have no faith, that your birthday's in December, or that you played online Scrabble in November with Gary. Who is Gary? I mean day to day, because he writes on your wall, but can you give him a call? Hypothetically, I digress theoretically, and then wonder pathetically, if my dad heard all this, would it baffle him? Would it technologically unravel him? Or would he be an iDad on his new iPad, this man all in patchwork trying to make apps work? If he came back, there is so much I'd have to show him. A lot more than I can sew into this patchwork poem. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to do one more, but before I do, I co-run a night in South East London in New Cross called Culture Cake. We do a bit of music and poetry and comedy as well. So if you know if you have any buddies south of the river who you think could love a bit of that action, then send them on over. I meant to bring some flyers tonight, but I left them in the printer at school, which I'm probably going to get sacked for. So, you know. But I'm going to do one more, and this is called Umcha, and it's about nightclubs, which I'm really shit at, and you all look really cool, so you're probably really good at them. But and it's sort of been taken a bit tongue-in-cheek, but I remember when I wrote it after a particularly sort of disgusting one in Night Out in Holborn, and I was really serious about it at the time. This is called Umcha, and thanks again for having me. It's been really lovely. Welcome to the nightclub. Welcome to this bright hub. We've got a really big room and there's beats going boom. There's a pretty sticky floor and a cute at the door where there's bravado and swagger to rival Mick Jagger. There's big hair and false nails and epic fake tan fails. Have you got heels that hurt your heels? Have you skipped your last 2 meals? Have you seen our latest deals? We'll put you on the mailing list. You've no idea what you've missed. Can we see your ID, mostly out of sympathy? Now enjoy the symphony of beats that lured you from the streets. You give your coat to a man who glares and you climb those sticky stairs. Dressed so tight it almost tears, but then you're in. I'll have a double measure of pleasure, please. I'll have a pint of the just what I need, and I'll have another for my brother from another mother. I've only just met him, just doing this for a bet. Deep breath, no regret. If you see my earring, found it. Another shot, just down it. You down it, you dance. You watch the peacocks prance, and there is so much feigned romance it makes you nauseous. As we all try to be so gorgeous. And Single Ladies by Beyonce, it's sort of less song, more survey. So they know which way to direct those chat-up lines that are chat-up lies. Leopard print suits you. God, you've got beautiful eyes. It's nothing new, there's no surprise, just a lot of wandering eyes and predatory glances. And no one actually really dances. It's just calculated pose after calculated pose, only interrupted by the adjustment of clothes. Oh, love, you've grown out of those. So I look around and I see a playground, but it's a playground that got serious when we felt no one was hearing us. And we're still wearing this uniform as we try to outperform each other. Friends or lovers, we're just trying to impress. That's what that hideously uncomfortable dress is for. You leave your personality at the door until your makeup smudges when someone nudges you in the wrong way, then the worst of you is on display, the full array. And you wonder why you're here at all. God, maybe Cinderella should never have bothered with a ball. And you think of your bed, and the banging in your head brings back all your cares, and like first grey hairs, you try and pluck them out, you try and swap that doubt, but you can't pluck every hair. Some remain there whilst you sweat regret as you sit on the steps that are covered in spit and gum. Oh, I really shouldn't have come. They said this would be fun. You go to the toilet to freshen up and a woman tries to sell you perfume and a chupa chup. Why do we want to buy sweets in the loo? Is that just one of those things we do? I'd rather not. God, it's hot. Don't buy me another shot. You can call me boring. I know I'm not. I think, all right, one more drink. But then heart sinks as once again we've missed the train. On the way from chip shop to bus stop, my shoes break, so I throw them. I won't mention the night bus. That's a whole other poem. So eventually, after a cup of tea, something more quintessentially me, I'm left questioning clubbing, because that pounding and that dubbing and the swaying of those hips, it leaves me craving the apocalypse. Thank you very much. Thank you.